Before my wedding, my parents and sister kept teasing. Just wait, we've got a big surprise. On the big day, not a single one of them showed up. Instead, a video played of them vacationing in Europe. The message? She'll be fine. I never reached out. But after I shared pictures with my in-laws, I got 290 calls. There are some moments in life that just absolutely rock you to your core, moments that make you question everything you thought you knew about the people closest to you. For me, that moment came on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, my wedding. My family had been dropping hints for months, whispering about a surprise, making me think they were actually excited for me for once. But on the day itself, they were nowhere to be seen. Instead, I got a video of them, laughing and toasting on a European vacation, with a message that basically said, "She won't be hurt by this." Can you believe that? My relationship with them had always been awkward. I mean, I'd walk into the living room and conversations would just stop. My brother Benjamin and his wife Camila would exchange these knowing glances, and my mom Diana would put on this stiff smile and say, "Oh, Eliza, you're unusually early. Is work finished?" Like I was some kind of alien. My dad Victor would just snort from behind his newspaper. A miracle. Our lawyer deigned to look up from her law books. And Benjamin, always quick to cut me down, would jump in. "Eliza only talks about numbers. She has a special talent for ruining the mood at parties." Camila would chime in. "That's right. At the last holiday party, she went on and on about contract clauses. Half the guests left." I tried to explain, but it was always the same. At dinner, while their kids ran around and Camila gushed about vacation plans, if I tried to talk about anything other than work, silence would just fall. "Eliza is always too serious," Camila would say. "You should learn to have a little fun. Life isn't just about work." And Benjamin would make a show of it for his kids. "Look, kids, don't be like your aunt, always work, work, work. She even forgets how to smile." They'd all laugh, and I'd just stare at my glass of water. They had no idea I was quietly helping with their living expenses, all while paying for my own law school and building my career from the ground up. In their eyes, I was just the boring, serious eldest daughter. The night I was leaving, my father, in an unusual move, actually called out to me. "By the way, about the cost of Benjamin's birthday party next month, you'll help out a bit, won't you?" I just nodded. My value to them, it felt like, was always proportional to the thickness of my wallet. But that was about to change. This whole mess really started about 2 months before the wedding. My dad started acting weird. Not in a bad way exactly, but super secretive. Whispering on the phone, slamming his laptop shut when I walked into his office. Camila would give me these knowing little smiles, saying, "Eliza, you're going to love what we're planning for your big day." Even Benjamin, who usually couldn't care less about family stuff, was dropping hints. I'm not going to lie, it actually got me excited. Your wedding is a milestone, right? We weren't wealthy and I'm independent, so I wasn't expecting anything grand. But all the secrecy had me thinking maybe, just maybe, they were planning an amazing bridal shower or rehearsal dinner. Dad kept telling me to be patient whenever I tried to get details. I was honestly just so surprised they were showing any interest in my marriage. "I'm planning a family dinner to introduce my fiancé. You absolutely have to come, Dad. I insisted on the phone a month ago." "Of course, Eliza," he'd said. "I'll definitely come if work finishes early." But on the promised day, I got a text. "Sorry, I forgot I had a golf appointment with my friend Bob. Let's meet on the wedding day." I just sighed. This wasn't new. My dad always put his work and hobbies before me. So the dinner with my fiancé James got cancelled. Then came the wedding day. No one. Not my mom, not my dad, not Benjamin, not Camila, not even my niece and nephew. None of them had come. I stood there in my dress, clutching my bouquet, staring at the empty rows. Maybe something happened, I thought. I called my dad. Rejected. My mom? Same thing. Text to Benjamin and Camila? No reply. James, my husband-to-be, squeezed my hand. His calm eyes reassured me. "Eliza, don't worry," he said. "Something must have happened. They wouldn't intentionally not come." James, in his perfectly tailored suit, with that gentle smile just for me. Even his parents looked concerned, but James was decisive. We decided to go ahead. Feeling the gaping hole where my family should have been, I said "I do" in front of those empty seats. James's hand held mine firmly, and the look in his eyes told me I was enough, even without them. The wedding somehow was a success. But I couldn't shake this feeling. Back at our new home with James, I remembered I actually had an Instagram account. I don't post much, I just follow my family to see what they're up to. And there it was, posted just 3 hours earlier. A photo of my entire family, Dad, Benjamin, Camila, Mom, Adrian, and Sophia, all smiling in front of a medieval chateau, wine glasses raised at some exclusive French estate. Benjamin had captioned it, "The perfect family vacation without her." My blood absolutely boiled when I saw the comments. Dad replied, "She's too busy anyway," with a laughing emoji. Camila added something about career-obsessed women not appreciating family traditions. And my mom? She commented, "It's wonderful to escape from being stressed by her wedding." There she was in the photos, looking completely relaxed in designer sunglasses. James held me tight, looking at the photos with me. He seemed just as furious. "I can't believe they would do this," he frowned. "Eliza, this just shows how little they value you. But I'm different. You mean everything to me." He sat beside me, gently stroking my hair as he saw my hands trembling. "No one has the right to hurt you. You're an amazing person. I'm lucky to be able to see what they don't deserve to see." His words were comforting, but the pain in my heart didn't disappear. I sat there for what felt like forever, my throat tight, just scrolling through more photos. Vineyard tours, river cruises, family portraits, all time-stamped and geotagged to some chateau I'd never heard of, starting 2 days earlier. I don't know what kicked in then, shock, rage, or some weird sense of calm. But I didn't call them, didn't text, didn't comment. I just poured another glass of champagne, my hands still shaking, and started thinking hard. James came back from the kitchen with hot chocolate and sat next to me. He started giving me advice from his perspective as a company executive. In situations like this, it's important to act based on facts, rather than being swept away by emotions, he said. As an excellent lawyer, you probably understand, but now we need to keep records of everything from a legal perspective. He took out his tablet. "I shouldn't really be showing you this," he said hesitantly. "This is your father's activity record at our company. It shows how his decisions have negatively impacted us." That was the first time I realized he wasn't just an executive, but at the top level of the company. The access he had. "James, are you?" He smiled slightly. "Yes, I was recently promoted. It's not officially announced yet, but I've become your father's direct superior. Actually, I've become the CEO." I was shocked, but he quickly added, "But there's something more important right now, and that's to protect you. I can't allow them to treat you like this." His kindness and determination gave me strength. The first thing I did was check the bank account I'd been using to support my family. As expected, $400 had been transferred to my father's personal account last Friday. I scrolled back through older social media posts. My mom had been making comments about a special family retreat for weeks. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. Planned without me. Planned around me. Planned despite my wedding. By midnight, my hurt had transformed into white-hot determination. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots of posts, financial transfers, a timeline of all the lies they told me about wedding surprises. I rarely cry, but I felt hot tears burning behind my eyes. Not sad tears. Angry ones. "What do you think we should do now?" I asked James, looking at the computer. "First, let's prepare to protect yourself legally. Then when the time comes, we'll show them the truth. But for now, let's rest. Tomorrow will be a long day." He put his arm around my shoulder and led me to the bedroom. 3 days after the wedding, my phone exploded. Dad texted asking if I was upset. Camila called twice. Benjamin sent a message. "Dad's getting worried, can you just respond?" I didn't answer. Instead, I posted my first Instagram photo in months. Just me at my apartment with wedding sample decorations I'd selected myself. No caption, no tags, just a date stamp. That's when the flood began. At exactly 9:44 p.m., my phone went absolutely crazy with notifications. Message after message. Dad was in complete panic mode. Benjamin actually sounded concerned for once. Camila sent voice messages that grew increasingly desperate. By midnight, I counted 290 messages across all platforms. Texts, WhatsApp, Instagram DMs, emails, even voicemails. The last one from Dad just said, "We're coming back tomorrow. We need to talk." James was sitting next to me in the living room watching my expression. He'd actually made his move the day after our wedding. He woke up early, took a shower, and then quietly made a phone call in the corner of the living room. I was still in bed, just waking up from the previous day's exhaustion. I noticed his tone was different than usual, businesslike and calm, yet with an unwavering strength. "Yes, Victor," I heard James say. "The decision remains unchanged. Starting Monday, you will be transferred to the regional branch. Your future will be considered based on your performance there." I was fully awake the moment I heard him say my father's name. I jumped out of bed and went to the living room. James saw me, gave a small nod, and continued the call. "No, this is not personal. It's purely a matter of performance and compliance. Your department has failed to meet targets for 3 consecutive quarters. Furthermore, there have been violations of the company's ethics code." The voice from the phone grew louder. It sounded like my father was shouting. James remained calm and switched to speakerphone. "You don't have the authority." My father's voice echoed. "I've supported this company for 20 years. You're just a..." "Victor," James calmly interrupted. "I was officially appointed as the CEO 3 months ago. All personnel decisions are within my authority." After a moment of silence, my father's voice changed. This time it was mixed with fear. "Wait, James, there must be some misunderstanding. I was just..." "You skipped a family wedding to go on a European vacation," James said sternly. "Our company upholds the value of cherishing family. You failed to uphold even that basic principle." "Wedding?" My father's voice sounded confused. "What wedding?" James looked at me, his expression softening slightly. "Eliza's wedding. Your daughter's." On the other end, something fell. Then my mother's voice was heard from a distance. "Victor, what happened?" "Eliza's wedding, why?" My father sounded completely shocked. James reached out to me and I sat next to him. "I am James Ryan, your superior and your son-in-law." After a complete silence, frantic voices erupted from the phone. It seemed like my father was hurriedly explaining something to my mother. Benjamin's voice could also be heard in the background. They were clearly agitated. But, my father returned to the phone, his voice now trembling. "Why didn't anyone tell me that, Eliza and you?" "I didn't know. We sent the invitations 3 months ago." I spoke for the first time. There was no response. "I also called Mom to confirm, but was told you were busy." "Eliza!" My father gasped. "You were there?" "Listen, this is all a misunderstanding. We were just on vacation. I didn't know your fiancé was James, or that he was my boss." At that moment there was a sudden movement on the other end, and we could hear Benjamin's voice. "James! Eliza! Listen. We learned in Europe that Dad was being demoted. Everyone was upset and we tried to contact you, but you canceled my wedding," I said in an icy voice. "You didn't think about the most important event in my life at all." "Eliza," my mother started. "We were just..." "Enough," James said before hanging up. "Victor, I expect a report from the regional branch on Monday." When the call ended, I buried my face in my knees. James sat beside me and put his arm around my shoulders. "Honestly, I didn't think your father wouldn't recognize me. He had met me in board meetings and should have known I was a member of the management team. I guess he really didn't consider you in his life at all, Eliza." James's words pierced my heart. My father couldn't even remember my fiancé's face. 3 hours later, our smartphones kept ringing. 290 desperate messages from my father, mother, Benjamin, and Camila. They suddenly realized my importance because my husband had the power to affect their livelihood. "What are you going to do?" James asked, gently stroking my shoulder. "I'll ignore them," I said with determination. "Just as they ignored my wedding, I'll ignore their messages." James smiled slightly and kissed me. I finally understood. They didn't even know who my fiancé was. In the past, I felt like I was only a supporting character for my family. But now, I had finally become the protagonist. And with my partner, James, I was ready to start a new life. I'd been loyal to my family for years, never once deliberately ignoring my father when he needed legal help. We spent that evening building my legal protection strategy. I called my bank and removed my family members' access to my accounts. Around midnight, I discovered an email thread between Dad and Benjamin from 2 weeks earlier. Dad, should we even tell Eliza about the France trip? Benjamin, why bother, she'll just worry about her wedding. Dad, true lol, it's not like she ever focuses on anything but legal matters anyway. Benjamin, she probably won't notice we're gone until after her wedding. Dad, I think you're right lol. That was the moment something inside me crystallized. I've been holding on to a tiny hope that maybe everything was just a big misunderstanding. But that email destroyed it. On the day they were supposed to return, I was waiting in my apartment. James said he had work and promised to join me in the evening. At 4:32 p.m., I heard multiple voices in the elevator of my building. The wheels of suitcases rolled on marble, and the intercom rang. I slowly responded. When I opened the door, there was an unnatural scene of jet-lagged, exhausted faces forcing cheerful smiles. My father was clutching a gift bag that had obviously not been in his original luggage. Eliza, my father said in a forcefully bright voice, why didn't you answer the phone? I wanted to ask you about my job. I stared at them with a cold expression. My mother looked apologetic, and Camila was staring at the floor. Only Benjamin hadn't completely abandoned his somewhat arrogant attitude. As a tense conversation began at the doorway, the elevator doors opened again, and James appeared, wearing a suit. His expression was stern when he saw my father. Victor, he said calmly. My father's face was drained of color. James, he choked. Is it true what was written in that email? Are you together? James stood next to me and put his arm around my shoulder. Victor, I am Eliza's husband. The wedding was 4 days ago. You were invited, but it seems you prioritized your vacation in France. My father's face was twisted with fear and confusion. Eliza, is he really my company CEO? I said calmly, yes he is. But you know what? You chose traveling over my wedding, and now you've come to complain about James demoting you. Benjamin stepped forward. Eliza, listen, we didn't know your fiancé was actually Dad's boss otherwise. That has to be a blatant lie, I said firmly. James's promotion was decided last month. His name was circulating in the company emails. The reason you know nothing about my fiancé is because you have no interest in my life. My father said in a trembling voice, Eliza, we're family. Family helps each other, right? James calmly said, Victor, someone who doesn't value family has no right to talk about family. As those words echoed in the hallway, complete silence fell. My father's shoulders slumped, and despair spread across his face. My mother covered her mouth with her hand, letting out an uncontrollable sob. Even Benjamin lost his usual arrogance and dropped his gaze to the floor. I notified you when you were in France last week, James continued calmly. Employees who don't value family are not needed in the company. You are to be demoted to a rural subsidiary. It was only after you received that notice that you suddenly started to care about your daughter's wedding. Camila said in a small voice. We didn't know. Victor, my father suddenly said. We had to go back. James looked at her, his expression softening slightly. Please leave now. Eliza has been hurt enough. My father took a step back and dropped the gift bag. Its contents scattered on the floor, but no one tried to pick them up. My crying mother grabbed my father's arm and pulled him toward the elevator. Eliza, Benjamin said finally, can I talk? Get out, I said quietly but firmly. They slumped their shoulders and hung their heads as they entered the elevator. The last scene visible through the closing doors was my father's devastated expression and my mother's tear-soaked face. Benjamin was supporting Camila, who was crying like a child. When the door closed, James gently embraced me. Are you okay? He asked kindly. I'm fine, I answered. I'm no longer an invisible presence. That's all I need. Looking out the window, I could see them walking through the lobby with heavy steps toward a taxi. My father no longer looked arrogant. He just looked like an old man. Watching them get into the taxi and drive away in the rain, I felt true freedom for the first time. 1 month after the wedding, their situation had visibly deteriorated. James and I were having coffee at the breakfast table, discussing my father's situation. On James's laptop was my father's performance report, and the numbers were harsh. He only lasted 2 weeks at the regional branch, James said quietly. He was late every day and even fell asleep in meetings. Yesterday, he formally submitted his resignation. I picked up my coffee cup and stared at the steam. As expected, James took my hand. Do you regret it? No, I shook my head. They made their choices. I just made mine. As we were preparing to go to work after breakfast, my new phone rang. It was my mother's number. After exchanging glances with James, I answered on speaker mode. Eliza, please listen. My mother's voice sounded tired and thin. Your father quit his job. We're financially struggling. We can't make our mortgage payments and our credit card debt is growing. Could you help us a little? James silently looked at me, nodding slightly to indicate he was leaving this decision to me. How much do you need? I asked calmly. About $3,000 this month, my mother said in a small voice. It's temporary. Your father will find a new job soon. I struggled to contain my laughter. $3,000. Almost exactly the same amount as their luxury hotel bill in France. Tell me honestly why you need the money, I said. I told you mortgage and… The real reason, I interrupted her. What is father trying to do after James demoted him? After a long silence, my mother sighed. He has contacted a competitor. He's planning to sell confidential information from James's company. We need money for a lawyer. I could see James's expression hardening. He quickly began taking notes and gestured that he would contact the legal department. I see, that was all I said. Mom, you just admitted to conspiracy and corporate espionage and industrial spying. This call is being recorded. Eliza, my mother gasped. How could you record a family conversation? How ironic, I said coldly. A family who chose traveling over my wedding is now bringing up family. That evening, James and I were drinking wine on the penthouse balcony, gazing at the city lights. He put his arm around my shoulder and pulled me close. What do you think? I asked. Do you think they'll give up? They have nothing left to lose, James said quietly. That's the most dangerous kind of person. 2 days later, I received a direct call from my father. Eliza. His voice was strangely calm. I need some financial assistance. It's temporary. I'll pay it back soon. James and I were listening on speakerphone again. He had already contacted a lawyer and started preparing a restraining order. How much do you need? I asked. $5,000, he said without hesitation. As family, as a daughter, helping out that much is only natural, right? I looked at James. He just shook his head. Dad, do you understand how dangerous the gamble you're taking is? I asked quietly. James took everything from me. He suddenly shouted. My position, my dignity, even my daughter. He should be punished. Your problem has always been that you're self-centered, I said. I am not a thing, not a possession to be taken. I made my own choices. Did you know he was the CEO? My father said in a trembling voice. Did you marry him knowing he was my boss? I married him knowing who he is, I answered. Because he is kind, honest, and respects me. Things you never showed me. The phone went silent and was then disconnected. The next morning, the news was shocking. My father had been arrested for compliance violations and attempted sale of corporate secrets, according to a report from the company's security. My mother and Camila were crying at home. What should I have done? I asked James. I could have stopped them. James touched my cheek and said gently, Eliza, these were their choices, not your responsibility. That afternoon, I formally applied for a restraining order through my lawyer against my parents, Benjamin and Camila. I couldn't let those who were destroying their own lives destroy mine as well. You forgot my existence, I wrote in my final email. Now it's my turn to forget yours. From that day, I created a new phone number, a new email address, and a new beginning. James supported me throughout the process, and at night, he held me in his arms and whispered, You're not alone. I am your family. 6 months later, we bought a new house. A beautiful house by the lake, away from the city's hustle and bustle. James successfully reorganized the company, and I was promoted to chief legal officer. The only traces of my former family were the occasional documents from the court. The demands for gifts from Adrian and Sophia were gone, and I was free. The family bonds were broken, but James and I were building a new family. a family where I was visible. Every night after dinner, James and I would drink wine and talk about future plans. And once a month, we would have dinner with James's parents and dream about our own family. And sometimes his casual words gave me a sense of security I had never experienced before. You are my everything, Eliza.